You are listening to Meet the Thriller Author, the podcast where I interview authors of mysteries, thrillers, and suspense books. I'm your host, Alan Peterson, and this is episode number 166. In this episode of the podcast, I welcome back the amazing co-author duo of Andrews and Wilson. Together, they have written several best-selling military thriller, covert op, action-adventure type thriller series, including the Tier 1 books, and they've also been selected to bring back Webb Griffin's presidential agent series with Rogue Asset, which will be published in December. Their latest book is Dark Intercept, which is an action-packed, page-turning thriller, but it also deals with the intriguing questions of spirituality and the human condition. It's a fantastic genre mashup. It's part military thriller, vigilante justice, a little bit of supernatural meshed into it. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it a lot. I highly recommend you check that out. It'll be published on September 7th, so go give that a try. Before we get to the interview, a quick word about Masterclass, offering online classes created for students of all skill levels with instructors that are the best in the world. Go to thrillingreads.com/masterclass to check that out. Become a better writer with the Masterclass annual membership. You'll gain access to exclusive video lessons taught by literary masters, including Neil Gaiman, David Baldacci, Walter Mosley, Dan Brown, Margaret Atwood, and James Patterson, just to name a few. There's a lot more. So go over to thrillingreads.com/masterclass to check that out. By signing up via that link, it supports this podcast financially, so I thank you. All right, so here's my interview with Brian Andrews and Jeffrey Wilson. Hi, everybody. This is Alan with Meet the Thriller Author. And on the podcast today, I am welcoming back Andrews and Wilson, who are the best-selling writing team of Brian Andrews and Jeffrey Wilson, authors of several series. We were just discussing this off before I hit the record button. They have 5 series going. They have the Shepherd series, Tier 1, Sons of Valor, Rogue Asset, the 9th book of the W.E.B. Griffith Presidential Agent series is coming out. And so they write action-adventure, covert operation novels, which honor the heroic men and women who serve in the military and in intelligence communities. Always fun to talk to these guys. The latest book, Dark Intercept, will be available on September 7th. Welcome back to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us back. It's always good to talk to you, Alan.
And you did your homework, Alan. You got all the books. You didn't leave anything out.
I love your guys' work, so I was excited to read it. And Dark Intercept is no different. I just finished it yesterday. Really enjoyed it. So we'll get into that. So Dark Intercept. So this is the first of 3 novels, right? For the Shepherd series.
Well, we at least 3, we hope.
Starting out.
Yes, it is. It's the first book in a new series called The Shepherds, and Dark Intercept is book 1. So yeah, we're super excited to get it out there.
And so can you give us an overview of the series?
Yeah, Jeff, why don't you take that one, and then I'll chime in on the next question, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So the series is something we actually have been playing around with for a few years, Alan. It's an idea that we had. But, you know, as you know, we've got kind of a lot of different things going on. So we sort of brainstormed it out and even wrote 50 pages or so, and it was sitting in a drawer ready to go. And when the opportunity presented itself, we were super excited to be able to move forward with it. So the premise of the Shepherd series is this idea that there is unseen forces of good and evil at battle with one another in the background of all that we see in the world. So I think that right now, the last few years, especially with all the chaos that we see in the world and violence and terrorism and pandemics, and it's actually not difficult to imagine this struggle between good and evil going on. And so our premise was, what if, and as you know, we've talked about this so many times on your show, we always start every series and every book with that what if question. What if there was a covert operations team that was working worldwide, a global unit that was working on that aspect of the problem? And I don't want to tell too much, and spoil the first book. But what if there was this covert team? And so we launched the series in Dark Intercept with our hero Jedediah Johnson, who is a retired Navy SEAL. He's reluctantly retired. He's got injured and he's medically retiring after 15 years. But he's got an interesting backstory in that Jed was on a different path in his life until late in high school. He had hoped to become a pastor and he wanted to work with youth, but he encountered something something very evil that sent his life on a different path. And he left his home, left his family, left his best friend and his girlfriend behind, and pursued a career as a Navy SEAL. And so our book opens with a frantic phone call from his best friend that he hasn't seen in 15 years, asking him to help him find his young 12-year-old daughter who has been kidnapped, and no one seems to be able to find her. So that's sort of how we launched Jed onto this path that he has to pursue. So he's haunted by demons, like all good heroes, and he's going to have to find his way back to elements of his past in order to be able to save this girl.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. But this is, you guys, it's like a really big genre mashup here. It's like a police procedure, not a police procedure, but like an investigation type PI book. You got the military stuff going on as well. So, and I read that it's being compared as like Taken meets Stranger Things, which I think is so cool and appropriate. Can you tell us a little bit about that, about all these different genre mashing that's going on in here?
Yeah, this was really, really exciting for us. I mean, Jeff and I have a lot of different interests. As you know, we're sort of frenetic, writing about all kinds of things all the time. So this one was one where we felt like we weren't constrained in any way. We could talk about all the different sort of philosophical and theological issues that we chat about, offline. We could put them in, work them into the story, but we could also, sort of flex our muscles when it comes to creative prose and just creativity in the plot. So it was really, really fun to be able to work in some of these supernatural, spiritual warfare elements, as well as, like you said, there's this whole police element with a missing girl. And, as fathers, Jeff and I are both fathers. We both have daughters who are the same age as Sarah Beth. And, that was very visceral for us to write about, the situation where, this girl is kidnapped. And I mean, as a father, there's nothing more terrifying than the prospect of one of your children being lost or kidnapped, and you're powerless to do anything about it. And so we harnessed that and tried to put that into the narrative. And I think it brings a different element than what our fans are used to in our other series. And we hope that that different element resonates with people.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, Alan. That was really fun. He mentioned that being dads helped, and it did a lot in getting that really emotional response. But the other thing that was sort of unplanned, when we first brainstormed this out, we knew that this was going to be this element, this kidnapped girl, and the unveiling of the reason why she was kidnapped is, something very exciting. But what evolved as we wrote it was we made the decision that we would give that character, we would elevate her into the story and give her a point of view. And that was a challenge, even having daughters her age, to write a 12-year-old girl POV for two Navy veterans who write military action thrillers. That was a real challenge. And I'll be honest, we even leaned in on our daughters a little bit and got them to help us with some of that. But we're really happy with how it turned out, giving her this point of view and that childlike faith of this girl, and finding her strength to save herself from this horrible situation. I think for me, that was one of the most fun parts. So the whole genre mishmash was exciting and fun, but I think our readers will still find there's plenty of Navy SEAL action and general badassery to be had. So we'll see. We're really excited to see what readers think, because it is a little bit different for us.
Yeah, I finished reading it yesterday. I really do think that that all the action is there, it's all there, like from your other books. So it's kind of fun to read something different, but it still's got the stuff that that we like to read. Was that a balance that you guys had were kind of worried about? Like you have it leans more towards the faith-based stuff, and then but you also have to have the action. Can you talk a little bit about balancing all that?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously, in any book, that's a challenge. Even you look at Tier 1, which is a little more straight up military thriller. We write very character driven stories, as you know, Alan. And so finding that balance between character development in an action series and relationship building in an action series is always a challenge. And there's no question that in this book, bringing in spiritual elements as well, that challenge was a little bit more daunting at first. But honestly, the way we approached it is the way we approach most of these things. Let the story tell itself, get the story on the page. If it doesn't feel balanced, that's fixed in edits. And so we just sort of plunged in full force and wrote the best book we can. And when we were done, we felt like we found the right balance. So certainly after developmental edits and working with the amazing people at Tyndale House, we think we got it right. But yeah, that's always an issue, isn't it, in any book? But bigger here. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. Like the last time we talked, the last year, you've been researching like submarines and talking with admirals and SEALs, and now I think it's so cool that you had to lean on your daughters a little bit for this for the Sarah Beth character. It's pretty awesome. You guys are always doing your research. You mentioned before that this is something you guys have been thinking about for a while. I think you mentioned it when we talked a year or a year and a half ago. So like, how long has this been on your radar that you've been wanting to write this? And was it exciting to just finally be able to get it out there finally?
I think we started on this book not long after we got to work on Tier 1.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so that's how long it's sort of been percolating. And it, things with Tier 1 took off, and we went from book to book to book. And it wasn't really, I think, until after book 5, Red Spectre, we sort of were able to take a deep breath and say, I wonder if we could come back to this. And it's just sort of serendipity, or maybe there's a larger hand at play here. I'll let Jeff tell the story about how the deal came to be. It's pretty interesting. It wasn't something that we expected. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, that's right. It was something that, like I said earlier, we had brainstormed it out. We were really excited about it, but it was in the drawer because Tier 1 was doing great. Sons of Valor had been contracted with Blackstone as well as another project with them. And then Tom Colgan just blessed us with this opportunity to write for the Webb Griffin estate in the Presidential Agent series. So we weren't really looking for another thing to do. And like Brian alluded to, it was one of those kind of fell out of the sky things. And I'll let you decide what that analogy or metaphor means here. But a friend of ours, a very good friend, Josh Hood, who you know of, who writes the Treadstone series for Putnam, really good guy, really good friend. And he was flying back from a conference, and he was sitting next to a young lady on the plane, and they started chatting. And he's a man whose faith is very important to him. And him and this young lady were talking about faith. And then she found out he was a writer. She's like, "Oh, I actually work for Tyndale House. We're looking at Tyndale to grow our action adventure and thriller line. We're trying to grow our male readership. Would you have anything like that?" And Josh, being Josh, a very humble guy, he said, "Oh no, I don't have anything like that. But you know what? You should talk to my friends, Jeff and Brian. They have this thing," because we had talked to him about it a year earlier. And so he called me up when he got on the ground, and he said, "Oh yeah, no, I had this thing. Do you mind if I pass your contact information?" And I was like, "Yeah, go ahead." Some lady on a plane. Like we didn't really think anything would come of it, but it wasn't 2 or 3 days, right, Brian? I mean, it was quick. Like a couple of days later, we have a Zoom call set up with Karen Watson, who's the publisher for fiction at Tyndale and is now our editor, and Jan Stobe, and we all got on a Zoom call and we talked about this series and what we wanted to do with it. And a couple of days after that, we had a 3-book deal to write this series. So we were definitely hoping and praying that we would get to do this series, but it was not even remotely on our radar to do it when this deal all came together. So that was kind of fun and exciting. And then, of course, the ink dries and you're like, and now we have to write these. We have to write all these books somehow. We should probably take a really close look at the calendar. No more vacations forever. So,
I mean, there's the themes in this book about struggling with faith. So was that an issue that you guys were compelled to tackle? What were your feelings about that? Because I found that very touching.
Yeah, I think early on that was a big theme for us. It was probably the first theme that we really sort of latched onto. And those are the people that know me well know that I lead a men's military ministry. Brian and I are both military veterans, and I lead a ministry at a very large church in Tampa for a men's group that focuses on just those issues, Alan. Like, I think it's really hard to find somebody that's been in combat that has seen some of the horrors of warfare and at times seen just things, just the pure evil of what man can do to his fellow man, and not struggle with questions of faith and God and deity, and these questions of why would God let this happen? How could there be a loving God and allow these horrors to happen? And so it's something that we see very commonly in military veterans struggling to answer those questions for themselves. And so that was definitely a theme we wanted. We didn't want a preachy book, though. We don't want a book that's like you feel like you're getting a message. We wanted to do an Andrews and Wilson action novel, but we wanted to pull that theme that was really important in our lives into the book, so that at the end you can enjoy the ride and have the entertainment, but maybe you've got something that you can think about, how people that have suffered, not just in the military, but suffered real loss or suffered real trauma, how can they rectify that with what they believe about God and the universe? So yeah, that was definitely a major theme for us very early on.
And so when readers turn to the last page of this book, how do you hope they will feel? Any new ideas or lessons that you hope that they carry with them?
I think the main one we hope that they carry with them is that don't be afraid to question yourself, question your faith, think about, reach out to people, get a dialogue going. There's too many people that sort of, I think, I don't want to sound trite, the suffer in silence, but it's true. People too often they feel like maybe if they internalize all these things, they can sort it out themselves. Maybe they just feel uncomfortable talking about the topic. Maybe they don't know who to reach out to. And I think Jeff's men's ministry is a perfect example of, hey, Jeff saw a need that this is something that a lot of servicemen and women weren't comfortable talking about. So he realized, I can start a ministry. I can provide a forum for guys who have thought about these things and really need to get it off their chest, or have a sounding board, someone to bounce it off of. And so that was kind of the hope for this book, is that it will open the door for other people who've thought about these things, wondered about these things, maybe been too embarrassed or too afraid or too uncomfortable to talk about them, to either reach out to us or, folks in their community or their friends.
I was wondering too now, because you guys have been working together for a while. You've published many great books. Has your process with this whole pandemic that we've been going through this year plus now, did it change everything, or is it pretty much the same for you guys? Because you guys have different states anyway, so you probably already were doing a lot of video chats.
Right. Yeah. So our, I'm not at all trivializing the pandemic. It's been horrible for everybody, and our families have been affected as well. But it is a pandemic that was sort of built with Andrews and Wilson in mind, because this is what we do anyway. And so the rest of America is now sort of doing what Andrews and Wilson have been doing since 5 or 6 years ago. Because Brian lives in Kansas and I'm down in Florida, our method has always been very close, intimate collaboration from long distance. And so, daily phone calls, 5-6 phone calls a day, exchanging emails, doing Zoom conferences. That's our whole jam. Like that's what we do. That's how we've been creating books for a while. And so that definitely made us sort of set up and ready to continue to move at a time when we needed to, because we had, added series to our calendar. So that was good. Like everybody, there were challenges, having the kids at home, for example. When you're a full-time writer and you work at home, that's great, but not when all of your children are now suddenly at home with you, and it becomes a little bit of a challenge, wouldn't you say, Brian, to carve out that quiet time? Brian had figured out a whole system with his kids with a stop sign or something, and his kids are better trained than mine, because my kids were not respectful of that at all.
Yeah, we had a stop sign, we put on the door. Stop sign call means when you see the sign, stop. Don't just walk into the office like you own the place.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's a little darker, but it reminds me of that scene of The Shining, when she interrupts his writing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Hopefully Brian never went quite that extreme.
When you hear the sound,
I'm working.
Yeah. And so I want to share with you guys too. I really enjoyed the Jed Johnson character. He had his hip issues, some medical issues. Like you guys, it's kind of like different from usually the more the perfect type characters you read sometimes in the genre. Was he based on people that you knew? How did that character come together for you guys?
I think these characters are always amalgams of people that we know, and also blended in some of our own personal experiences. 20 years of war for Jed, it was 15 years of deployment after deployment after deployment. You see guys, especially from the special operations community, that is really hard on the human body. And in his case, we elevated it. He actually had a gunshot wound that shattered his hip and was able to rehab back, but never was like he had been before. And so that was definitely intentional. We wanted to show him as a strong, confident man, but broken in so many ways. And so in Jed, you have this brokenness that he has spiritually. Emotionally, he's kind of a loner outside of his team because of this lost relationship and his true love that he's lost. And now we have this physical brokenness, and that was very intentional, that we blended this broken man into this character who would need to overcome. And that's the hero's journey, right? I mean, you want him to have to overcome, and maybe we gave him more than was fair to poor Jed, but he seemed to rally. I think he was able to rise to the challenge by the end.
And I have to ask you guys about the writing in Webb Griffin's universe. How's that been? How's that going?
Going really well. I mean, the first book, Rogue Asset, was something that, when we were asked to sort of pick up the mantle, Tom Colgan, who is an amazing editor and genius in the publishing industry, he approached us about thinking, the way he said it was, I feel like this is the perfect series for you guys to take over the mantle. And that was an honor. And so we quickly, got our heads together and said, okay, how do we write these characters in a way that pays homage to, everything that Webb Griffin had done, and can we do this? And, Tom's guidance to us was, don't try to write like Webb Griffin, because you'll fail. Nobody can write like Webb Griffin. What I want you to do is write like Anders and Wilson and tell the best story that you can. And that sort of advice was what we needed. And as soon as we embraced that, it was sort of off to the races. And, we've added some new characters to the series. And I think we honored the existing characters, but you're definitely going to see a lot of action and a lot of familiar adrenaline that you would get from Tier 1 or Sons of Valor.
And when is that one coming out, the Rogue Asset?
That's coming December 7th, so we're really excited to see how it's received. Brian sort of hinted at this a little bit. The first reaction is excitement, but the very, very close second reaction is a little bit of overwhelmed by the responsibility of it. To be able to write in his universe is an honor, but it's intimidating, right? It's really intimidating. And so having Tom giving us that sage advice of writing as ourselves was a help. I think we also sort of had an advantage of some people that write in these estate deals, because he wanted us to continue the series on. We're not rebooting anything. We're not spinning anything off. We're continuing the story. And we had this nice gap of a number of years from book 8 until our book 9. And so that afforded us the opportunity to just say, okay, we'll make that real time. That many years has passed. What's up with Charlie Castile now? What is going on in the world now? There'll be a new president. There's new things and new challenges. And that gave us the opportunity to bring in some new characters. So in a lot of ways, that took some of the pressure off. But it was definitely Tom's guidance that got us through it. But it was a little bit of stressful for a while, don't you think, Brian? Like, how do you even do that? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so very, very fun. We're excited, really, really excited to see what people think of the book.
Yeah, you guys are busy there, because Dark Intercept comes out September 7th and the Rogue Asset in December 7th. I mean, you guys barely getting any break in there. Yeah,
we're sort of in permanent pre-launch now for the next 3 years or so, I guess.
And what do you guys are you working on the next Shepherd's book now, or what's the process on that one, the timeline on that one?
The second Shepherd's book is written, and the third book is almost finished. The Tyndale has been so amazingly supportive. We just absolutely love our team over there. But one of the things that they decided was that to launch a new series and have it get some traction, wouldn't it be cool if we could bring the first 3 books out a little bit closer than the standard 12 months? And so these books are going to come out very close together. Book 1 comes out in hardcover on September 7th. Book 2 comes out in April, and book 3 the following October. So we're going to, in 13 months, release the first 3 books in that series, which is super, super cool. But it was a little bit busy trying to get it all done. So, but that's fun, right? To be able to bring them out quickly like that.
Yeah, I found that that's a new thing now. It seems like the time between books is getting shorter and shorter.
It's great for the readers. It's a lot of work, not for the writers, but the production. I think people don't think about how much goes in. You know, we write the book and we hand it off to them, and the amount of work that the publisher puts into these things in the production schedule, developmental edits, line edits, covers, blurbs, marketing, promotion, to try to do that for 3 books from a single author team in 13 months it's quite a lift. And so we just feel so blessed that they were willing to invest in us like that. But I think it's going to be fun to have them come out quickly.
And do you guys work on one project at a time, or do you are y'all usually working on more than one at one time?
We're always working on more than one at a time because of the way the production cycle works, and there's so many phases in the process. So, you know, we're never working on more than one draft at a time. But like right now, for example, we're working on the rough draft of the 3rd book in the Shepherd series, but we're moving into developmental edits on another book. And then, you know, copy edits will come back to us on the 2nd book in Shepherd series any day now. So there's always different books at different stages of the production cycle. And so what we have to do is sort of one of us will keep working on the rough draft and the other guy will take a turn on DE, and then we kick the manuscript over to the other guy and then reverse. And that's sort of how we handle that.
That's why it's great having 2 of us, because we can continue to move the story forward. And we never have to put down, you know, the work in progress to do line or copy or developmental edits on another project. We just sort of swap it back and forth. And so one of us will take off for a couple of weeks, work on the edits while the other one keeps moving. And you're still talking about that story. We've talked before about whether we would be able to write, you know, 2 new drafts at the same time. And I think that would be a really big challenge because, as you know, Alan, because you're a writer, you get into your story, you get into your characters' minds and their lives, and you're there with them. And that's what allows you to tell the story. And I'm not sure how you can be in 2 places at one time. I think there would be a little bit of bleed over, at least for me, of their story and their emotions and their character. So I know people have done it, and maybe we could do it. I hope we don't ever have to find out.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious too, because I know we've discussed this before, because when you guys were here before, in case someone hasn't listened to the other interviews, could you just briefly just share how you guys work together? Because it's so fascinating and cool, and how you guys work as a team. Can you share a little bit about that process?
Yeah, sure. You know, we are true collaborators. It's not a situation like maybe some authors where, you know, there's one lead and they're sort of taking a managerial role, and maybe a younger author or aspiring author is sort of writing the series, you know, learning their chops under the tutelage of the other. Ours is very much a 50-50 partnership. And because we write 3rd-person multi-character point of views, it really affords us the ability to divvy up the chapters based on POV. And so what we do is we write in the 3-act structure, and we start out with our act 1, and we sort of map out through a big fun brainstorming session. Okay, this is sort of where we think this book is going to go. Jeff mentioned that what if question earlier. That's really the inciting event for not only for the book, but for our process. So we come up with that what if question that sort of drives our brainstorming. And then, you know, we figure out what the different characters are going to be that have a POV, and we divvy them up. And so we're both writing at the same time. Jeff's writing one character, I'm writing another. And as we go along, we take turns moving into the different characters' headspace. All the while, we're swapping the chapters back and forth for giving the other guy an opportunity to read and edit the work as we go.
It's a really cool way to do it. It's a lot of fun. The challenge is to make sure that both of us are able to get into the mind of each character, right? So while we'll split things up by point of view, as Brian said, that doesn't mean that I write all of the Kelso Jarvis and he writes all of the Chunk Redman and I write Lizzie or whatever. We will maybe, since we're doing the 3-act structure, like you said, maybe in act 1, I'm going to write all of the Dempsey and he's going to write all of the Dan Munn or whatever. When that happens, we're very intentional about in the next act swapping those. But more importantly, even if I've written the first draft of chapter 3, the very next thing that happens is Brian completely rewrites it and I rewrite his stuff. And so it really does feel like we're both writing all of it. It's hard to explain, but by doing it that way, I really feel like we both have our hands on everything all the time. And it feels like our product.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and great books you guys put right together. So yeah, it's a heck of a team. Dark Intercept comes out September 7th. So really recommend. This is going to be airing on September 7th. So you guys, it'll be available by then. So go pick it up because it was a lot of fun. Great read. Where can the listeners find you? What's your website again?
Andrews-wilson.com. Real easy to remember. And there's links to all the different series. There's a newsletter people can subscribe to because obviously we have a lot going on right now. But one thing that's really fun that we added is we've given the opportunity. We have a reader page where people can submit their own stories about their engagement with our books or pictures or things where they were, we've met them and that kind of thing. So we post pictures and such, but we're really encouraging our readers to get involved on our website and send stuff in. And a lot of people have, so that's really fun. But Andrews-wilson.com takes you to the main website and you can find everything you need from there.
All right, Jeff and Brian, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed catching up with you guys again.
Oh, Alan, it was great.
Yeah, always good to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you for listening to Meet the Thriller Author. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with one of your favorite writers of mysteries and thrillers, or if this episode's guest is new to you, I hope you give their books a chance. Helping listeners discover new authors and books is one of the coolest outcomes of doing this podcast. As always, you can head over to thrillerauthors.com to sign up to my Thrilling Reads email list. That way you won't miss out on any great deals in thriller and mystery books. You can also check out all the links and resources in the show notes for this episode over at thrillerauthors.com. And also please do subscribe to this podcast if you haven't done so already and leave a rating and review wherever it is that you're listening to this show. If you have done that already, I thank you. I really do appreciate your support. For my other links to my author website, social media haunts, and more, check out thrillingreads.com/links. All my links will be on that page. So that's it for this episode. See you next time and stay safe out there.